Hey Kyle,
Hello.
this is our official Marvel Studios episode.
We've never talked about Marvel before.
We've never spoke about Marvel before, but we're doing it today for two different projects, and we haven't actually really discussed them in detail yet in private, so...
And who knows,
I can't wait.
If we end up talking for 3 hours about each of them, this may end up being 2 separate episodes. We'll see.
This is our Rise of Skywalker episode 2.
No.
So, we're here what do we want to talk about first? Do we want to talk about Loki first, or do we want to talk about Black Widow first?
See, Loki is
Full
fresher.
spoilers, by the way.
Yes, Loki's fresher in my memory, so I think probably Black Widow first, because I watched that last week.
Agreed.
Alright, Black Widow, eh? You know, I'm coming into this completely opposite from how I expected. I expected going into this recording lukewarm on Black Widow and really into Loki, but I've flipped where a bit lukewarm on Loki, and I actually really enjoyed Black Widow, so that's where I'm at. I very much like this film, a lot more than I was expecting to.
Kyle, you just like to subvert expectations, don't you?
I sure do.
You're a real old Ryan Johnson when you get going. Wait, right, so we're talking about Black Widow first, and, well, Kyle, tell me, what is your overarching opinions on Black Widow? What did you mainly like, and what were some of your gripes? Just give me your basic views, and we'll get into details later.
Overall, I enjoyed the film more than I expected to. I mean, it's not perfect. It does fall into a lot of what I'll call, like, the Marvel tropes. The villains are not particularly strong. There's some parts where the action gets a little bit ridiculous. One part in particular towards the end.
Marvel famously have a formula that you can pretty much write without actually ever having to step foot in a Marvel Studios film.
Yes. Another thing is, weirdly, I felt like Scarlett Johansson was kind of weaker main character of this film, that she is, in all intents and purposes, the star of. I don't know if you had that same impression.
What do you mean?
All of the other characters surrounding her were more interesting than Natasha herself.
Ah, yes, right, okay, I agree. I think that was done semi-deliberately.
Yes, I think a bit. I mean, especially with Yelena.
Florence Pugh's character, Yelena Belova. She's going to be our new Black Widow moving forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think that this film was trying to almost be an ensemble piece, because no offense to Black Widow, she ain't that dynamic.
I don't think
like
that's
we've seen
fair.
spy movies. She's the Red Sparrow. Remember that Jennifer Lawrence movie? She's James Bond. It's very not Marvel, for lack of a better phrase. And again, I love Scarlett Johansson in the role. I think she's been great, but there's a reason they didn't give her a film earlier.
Yeah, sexism.
I think partly true, but I mean, this film wasn't something that they were staying away from because the story was too hard to crack, like the Mandarin was for Iron Man. This was a film they could have done.
I think it would have been a very different film 10 years ago.
Black Widow. I've frozen.
Oh dear.
This is my opinion on Black Widow. I don't really have much to say about it. It was fine. She's a fine character. She was kind of a bit sidestepped in her own movie, in my opinion, to make room for the other cast of characters. You know, there were certain characters in this film I would have liked to have seen more of, but that would have cannibalized Scarlett Johansson's screen time. I was going to say, like, scream time. Screen time more than she already had, because frankly I think this film lacked quite a bit of Black Widow, but again I think it was very deliberate.
I think I have things that I want to discuss on this movie that, like, some of them could maybe be video ideas, but I don't think I have that much to say, but there's some interesting things that I'd like to talk about revolving around it. I mean, I think part of the ensemble thing that's weird is this is essentially a send-off to Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, right? This is probably the last time we're going to see her in the MCU for a while.
This is her Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 episode, The Big Goodbye.
Yes, exactly like that.
Cyrus Redblock. He was also the villain of this film.
But yeah, I mean, what we were saying just there. about how this movie would be different 10 years ago, I think there's some weirdness that they're getting into now, because obviously for this film they're leaning heavy on girl power, which is fair enough because it's a lady superhero.
I don't think they did.
They didn't? No, I think they didn't lean on it as heavy as Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel went all in on that.
Yeah, I think with Captain Marvel it was so girl power focused. And I think people, again, for better or for worse, I'm not making valid judgment on it, they're not doing that anymore, This isn't 2016 female Ghostbusters territory. that trend has left.
I mean, I think it's still a part of this movie, and I don't mean that in a...
This film tries...
Audio dropout alert. Nathan has just mentioned the villain's similarity to Harvey Weinstein. See, you mentioned that after the movie came out. I never actually made that connection between Villain Man and... I mean, I got that he was like a creepy weirdo, but not in a...
There's a casting couch in his office, Kyle.
This is part of what...
This is the part of the podcast where Kyle defends Harvey Weinstein, everyone.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm about to do. I felt like they didn't take that element of the film nearly far enough for it to have any impact.
They didn't. They completely just kind of put it up there as like a poster, but it was like a piece of A4 paper you could poke your finger through. Right,
because he has a one line where he's like, I'm using the resource that the world has too much of, girls. And
didn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, and I never got the impression before that this guy was like a sexist. Because, this is part of the movie being made in 2021 that I think has some interesting, weird side effects. I think the movie
was made probably back in 2019.
Well, yeah, but just like modern era films, right? Because my understanding of the reason you train a bunch of like lady assassins is more for social stealth, I would think. But in this film, they treat the widows like they're just kind of assassins, as opposed to like stealth infiltrators. Like, they never touch on that element of it at all, and I think that's maybe part of the modernness that they're trying to make it seem less exploitative, even though it should be exploitative because that's what makes him a villain. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, this film's opening also had them do like a slow motion cover of a Nirvana song with like, they tried to have commentary on like sex trafficking, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
When it was like, there were kids in containers and girls in containers being shipped around in secret. But again, the film drops it. It's more like these issues in our films in the past because we vaguely reference them for 2 seconds in a vibey way. And the film's about a gigantic flying, not space station, but like if a helicarrier was a space station in atmosphere. It's the Shadow Broker's lair.
It doesn't make any sense. That thing would instantly show up on a satellite image, right?
So... Iron Man would have crashed into that.
Yes.
It was wild.
It would make more sense if it was underground than it would in the sky.
Yeah, that should have been the Underminer or something like that. I think that was supposed to be like a twist though, because in the marketing you never get the vibe it's in the sky.
That's true, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I thought the villain was quite... as I said, I've said off recording, Taskmaster is just someone for protagonists to punch, and is about as deep as Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, in my opinion.
I mentioned this just after watching it, but Taskmaster has big Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. villain energy. And I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I did not mean that as a compliment.
You mean it's very made for TV? Made
for TV, just like the outfit and just the burn makeup when they get the twist reveal that, oh my gosh, it's a lady.
I actually never saw that twist coming until like 3 seconds beforehand. Like, he says something about his daughter. And I think I saw this with a friend of the show, Ryan, and he leaned over and said, "It's the daughter." I was like, oh. Because I think at one point he thought Taskmaster was going to be Lady from The Mummy, the mother.
Oh, right.
I thought it was going to be Mr. Supply Man, because he's in that film, just to be a red herring.
Because that's his only purpose in the film, is to make you think that he's Taskmaster.
I think that man's got a future on Disney Plus, Kyle.
Do you?
I think he'll show up in like Hawkeye and stuff now, being like Mr. Supply Man. I think he will.
Maybe. I can kind of see.
But yeah,
that,
for this purposes of this film, he was big red herring energy. But yeah, then it came as like, it's Dreykov's daughter. But yeah, no, I thought Black Widow was It was fine. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to enjoy it, but I think that might have just been the benefit of me not having seen a Marvel movie in over 2 years in the cinema.
I think it's one of the... No, it's not upper echelon, but it was pretty good.
I thought it was firmly
it's not low tier.
middle of the stack Marvel. I thought it was, it was in there with Iron Man 3. Not poor, not bottom of the stack, but I think it will blend in the echelons of Marvel movies. I thought it was better than Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's...
What, did I? Did I think it was better than Captain Marvel? I don't know.
I think it was better than Captain Marvel. I watched Captain Marvel again recently, and my opinion of that film has dropped a lot, actually.
Yeah, I think maybe the reason I'm thinking of Captain Marvel more fondly is because, I like the Skrulls, and I like seeing young Samuel L. Jackson, and I like seeing Clark Gregg for a hot minute.
And then you remember that most of the film is Brie Larson being weird and miscast.
Yeah, incredibly miscast. Yeah, it's a shame. I feel sorry for her.
But yeah.
That's why she got her name removed from Captain Marvel 2. It's now called The Marvels.
Yeah, I mean, this film had good characters. Obviously, David Harbour, Red Guardian, is a classic.
I want to see more of him.
I feel like he was a little bit too screen steely, if that makes sense. Like, he was a little bit too good for the film's benefit.
He was a personality, that larger than life, and everyone else kind of got caught in his shadow. Yeah, I could feel that. A lot of people were quite annoyed that he was played for laughs so much, but I kind of get why he was. And at the start of the film, they give him his credit and then some. Like when he's defending his family and he's on the side of the plane with a rifle. That's a great sequence. And he ain't comedy man there.
Yeah, it's I didn't mind it. The other interesting side effect of this film being a modern film is how ambivalent they are towards Russia. 10 years ago, maybe you could have got away with villainizing Russia. You can't do that anymore. So they cleverly make it so that they're never officially connected to the Russian government. The Red Room is just a separate thing run by some guy. Some guy controls it all.
Who is suspiciously Eastern European.
Yes.
We finally find out in this film what happened in Budapest, Kyle.
Do we? Not really.
Yeah, Budapest was the mission that got Black Widow out of the Red Room when she blew up the Dreykov's daughter and thought she killed Dreykov.
Yes. How do you feel about the fact that her deepest sin, blowing up that child, turned out to not be true? I don't know how. I guess it's fine. She gets her redemption, kind of, I guess. But I don't know.
To me, a lot of it comes down to intent.
I suppose, yeah. She did still intend to kill the child, so... Yeah.
The sin is still in the intent.
Again, another plot line very similar to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent May.
Do you think if Black Widow hadn't been such a mainline Avenger in the side films, she would have got a spin-off into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like Lady Sif?
That would have been fun.
We'll talk about Lady Sif later. Yeah, no, I do get what you meant by this, because even a big flying base in the sky above Russia feels quite TV. It feels quite Hydra base.
Yes, and I mean, again, I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but there was a lot, and I can see, obviously, it's another spy film, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're all, secret agents, right? So I can see why there would be overlap there. But just the mind control drug and things like this, it's all a very Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. plot.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're drifting off already, but I want to say that I wasn't expecting to like Florence Pugh's character so much. I knew going into this that they were probably setting her up as the new Black Widow, but I didn't expect to be okay with it. But I was.
Well, I was just about to say, let's talk about the film's big standout who we all love. Florence Pugh. Yeah, no, she was fantastic. I thought she really held the film up in many ways. And I'm not saying that Scarlett Johansson couldn't have done that. She's a very talented actor. But I do think that because of this sad situation that we were in, where they kind of gave out a lot of her screen time to the ensemble, Florence Pugh being one of those people, Florence Pugh done the best with what she was given. And so did Scarlett Johansson. I think they all did. I think everyone in this film was very good with what they were given.
I did find it distracting that everyone had Russian accents except for Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, and she has had a Russian accent before, I'm sure, hasn't she?
I don't think so. I don't think they've ever tried that with her.
And in this film, didn't she get this accent back for a scene?
She had it as a kid, I think.
Maybe, I don't know. The film's fading into memory already. I know I'm going to see the film again. I've only seen it once so far at time of recording, but I do intend to see it again with folk who I'm friends with who haven't seen it yet. How do you think that Florence Pugh's Black Widow is going to be going forward? Do you think she's going to just be a copy-paste continuation of Scarlett Johansson's character, or do you think she's going to be a little bit different?
I think they've set her up in a good way to be different enough. Like, she's a little bit more carefree than Natasha, who's a bit more serious. That's why she stands out in this film, because she just seems like she's having fun, but not in like an actor way, like as in a character way where...
It felt like a Marvel humour way.
Kind of, but I think they play it right where, like, for her whole life she's been a brainwashed assassin, and now suddenly she has freedom and she's kind of enjoying herself. She's like, I can do whatever I want now. I can buy this vest. Why not?
What did you think of the MacGuffin?
What was the anti brain?
The red sand from Mass Effect.
It's a plot point, right? The whole mind control drug thing is it's not they don't use it in as compelling a way as I would have hoped. Because the fun thing about having mind-controlled villains is that, especially Scarlett Johansson, is not trying to kill anyone, which does add some tension to the fights, because, they're trying to kill her, but she can't try and kill them. Other than the one scene where they're all beating the crap out of her, they don't really do anything with it.
No, they don't really do anything with it at all, except where Yelena is freed from the power by stabbing someone across the torso and then getting the dust in her face. They seem to all be out on a mission to hunt that former Black Widow down in that moment. How she got freed, I don't know. Or was she like a widow that was from the same era as Scarlett Johansson's Natasha Romanoff, where she hadn't had the red dust?
I think she was even older. I think she was like same generation as their mum.
Oh right, I thought she was from Natasha's generation. It's like different generations of Spartans, different conditioning in the Halo. Yeah, I did think they would have went into it more. A scene that always stuck out in my mind that this movie reminded me of, but more to the detriment of this film, was Wonder Woman. There was a great scene in the first Wonder Woman where they go to a castle party and they're all dressed up fancy and they want to go kill the general man, I'm sure.
I vaguely remember this, yeah.
But Wonder Woman, it's Gal Gadot, she looks beautiful in the film. She's got a big blue dress on and she's got the sword hiding behind the dress. Almost looks like it's like a piece of jewellery almost, and at this big fancy castle, and obviously she actually dances with the general, I think, if my memory serves, and it almost feels like something of a spy movie, because obviously she's there in secret. She's not there with her sword out and her Wonder Woman outfit and her tiara on, ready to fight. And I was like, wasn't that kind of what the Black Widows was supposed to do? You said this earlier in the recording. This film didn't really do much with Black Widows. Supposed to be espionage assassin types, where they go around in secret instead of walking about in a bloody black shirt uniform. And sometimes in this film, it did remind me of that. And I was a bit like, this film could be cleverer. This film is very it'll distract 10-year-olds for a couple of hours.
I mean, I guess I can see, there isn't really a place in the script where they could do that, but I mean, they could have written the script differently. I don't know. It's weird. There's certain parts of this film which I think are structured a bit strange. As one of my final notes, did you think that when Taskmaster was driving around in that giant APC, it was just really obvious CGI in a way that I haven't felt for a while?
I've read quite a few places, because I have went to look at general reaction to this film. I will not pretend I'm going in blind. And yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying the CGI was really obvious. I'm gonna be real with you. I did not notice. I will say there were a couple of moments though where things go horribly wrong for the protagonist, and I'm like, why are you not dead?
Like the car crashes where they get out and they're completely fine. Yeah, there's so many car crashes in this film.
Or when she falls off the building and she just hurts her torso a little bit. Or when she's going across the bridge and an RPG hits the side of her car and the whole thing is very clearly engulfed in flames, but then there's an interior shot of her just kind of flailing her arms around and she gets out and she's fine.
Cars are so strong in this film. It's ridiculous. Every car has triple built roll cages.
Oh no, it's absolutely mental. It's complete and utter
I mean,
insanity.
that part, that's typical action movie stuff. The one part of the film where I thought the action got a bit ridiculous was the skydiving sequence at the end. It's like, this is too much. Like, when they're skating down debris, what are you doing? This is just too much.
Ahsoka does it in the last season of the Clone Wars.
Ahsoka can do it because Ahsoka is a Jedi. Okay, I can accept that.
No, I actually didn't mind the end skydiving and hitting off debris. I really did think that when that first rocket launcher hit her car that on that bridge, she should have died. I can forgive in this own film. I can forgive the bit where he does the bow and it explodes and it flips and it goes into the subway and they're fine, even though I shouldn't. I can forgive the falling off the building and hitting everything in her way down and not being that hurt. For the life of me, I'm so confused as to why she was just fine when that rocket hit her in that car, because it enveloped the car.
See, I kind of assumed at that point a high advanced spy car that she'd been supplied
like
with.
Nick Fury's car and
like
Winter
Nick Fury's
Soldier.
car and the Winter Soldier. And maybe that's me giving the film too much credit.
You're giving the film too much credit. What do you think of? Let's briefly touch on, before we move on, I want to briefly touch on Red Ross.
Oh, old Thunderbolt, yeah.
Old Thunderbolt. He's in this film for a second, doesn't he?
I wasn't expecting to see him. He didn't do much. I don't really have much to say.
Well, he looked weird, didn't he?
You said he looked weird. I didn't notice him looking weird.
You didn't think he looked... I thought he looked really weird. I thought obviously the actor is older, but the last time we saw him was like in Infinity. Well, we saw him briefly in Endgame as well, actually. I think that something about his face looked more enhanced. Now, I know the actor is older, therefore, and this is a prequel of like 4 years, so therefore he should be de-aged. But, 5 years, I guess, if you want to take into account Endgame, but I guess his acting face wouldn't. I was honestly just shocked that they bothered to de-age him, because I thought it's such a small period of time. Surely William Hurt hasn't aged that drastically. And people, you seem to don't think he was touched at all. I'm convinced.
I believe you. I just didn't notice it.
I just thought it looked so weird. I was like, why have you done that? Why have you done that? Why? Everyone thinks I'm mad. No one. I don't see anyone talking about it.
I didn't notice. What do you think of post credits?
What do I think of post credits? Well, again, this was supposed to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so this character was supposed. So we see Val. We see. You can do the name. I can't
Contessa
do the name.
Valentina de Fontaine.
Yeah, I can't say that.
Madam Hydra.
We see Madam Hydra, and it's like, oh, who are you, mysterious lady in black with a little bit of humour? Oh, we'll find out in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier already because the world ended.
Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't really introduce her either. She says her name.
I think it developed her more, and she had more screen time.
A little bit, I suppose.
I feel she left an impression in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in my opinion. I don't think she left an impression in this, but this was just a post-credit, so that's why I'm sure that they had an order for this. You know what? I think that it's an interesting lead-in to the Hawkeye series, because I actually think post-credits going forward are just going to be trailers for the D+ shows.
It's possible.
Unless there's like a specific big film that's coming out that want to hype up, like the next Infinity War or something. I happen to think like the Spider-Man No Way Home post-credit will be a hype for Doctor Strange. I don't think it's going to be a hype for She-Hulk or something. Or Eternals, maybe, but I think that
Eternals is coming out before
things,
Spider-Man, is it not?
I think it's coming out in December. I thought Spider-Man was November. Or maybe it's vice versa.
I thought it was the other way around. I don't know.
Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's the other way around. But yeah, so I'm curious to see how this is going to take us into Hawkeye, because they would just talk. I think
probably
Clint just says, "Listen, we had a race to kill each other to see who would die first. I wanted to die. She wanted to die. She was better at dying than I was. She jumped off. I tried to catch her with my bow and arrows, and then she just let herself go. She kicked off the wall and died. I didn't kill her. I tried to save her."
And he'll be really sad, and it'll be obviously believable. Yes.
This show rather needs someone to punch. So I think that they will start fighting, then maybe be friends, or maybe she'll just kill Clint. And then Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld, she just becomes the new Hawkeye going forward, and now we've got a new black eye, a new Black Widow, and a new Hawkeye going forward.
Young Avengers, baby!
Young Avengers, baby. Though I think Florence Pugh's a little bit old for that.
We've got a new Captain America. It doesn't necessarily have to be Young Avengers, but just, Avengers 2.0.
Well, yeah, well, I think Young Avengers is happening, but I think that Florence Pugh will end up in the new Avengers with Anthony Mackie's Captain America.
We still have some of the old guard around, I guess. We have Thor, that's basically the last... Thor and Hawkeye. We do have Hulk. I wonder what they're planning for Hulk. Oh, he's going to be in She-Hulk, right?
He's going to be in She-Hulk, yeah. With Abomination, who's going to be in Shang-Chi.
Apparently so. Knowing that Florence Pugh is probably going to be in it has made me more interested in the Hawkeye show, because before I was not that invested in Hawkeye. I mean, he's fine. I've just never been that invested in Hawkeye as a character.
I see Hawkeye the same way I see Black Widow, and I don't have much to say about them.
I feel like I had more to say about Black Widow. I like in this film how they play up her heroism aspect of her character and how she's really trying to be a superhero, and obviously Florence Pugh makes fun of her for it, but I like that element of her character in this, where she's more than just a spy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. It didn't leave an impression on me. I like the family stuff. I like the scenes where they were sitting in the car singing American Pie. I like the scene between Alexei and Yelena in the bedroom where she told him to leave the room, and then he just sat down and started singing American Pie, and they brought, every single scene they sang American Pie was nice. When they were sitting around the table having dinner, and Yelena just started making comments and started taking shots of whiskey. Not whiskey, vodka. Wonderful. I like all the character scenes in this movie when they're in the gas station, though I was like, does that gas station attendant speak English? Because they're talking a lot about the Avengers.
Right? You think Natasha Romanoff's a pretty prominent face. You probably recognise her.
Yeah. I was like, why that isn't clicking? See the scenes where folk were just chatting. That was wonderful.
You know what? I even like the kind of cringy joke about removing the uterus.
Yeah, I thought it worked.
I think they made it work because they had Alexi do like a fairly typical like sexist response, like, oh, she's on her period, and then they just went all in on it, and I think it worked. I think it was a good subversion of the joke.
And then Alexi gets grossed out. It was, so you don't need to be all clinical. It was, when actor to actor stuff was great. I thought the villain stuff was really weak, and I thought the action scenes were just fine. The film as a whole, I think, was just fine. That was it. Apart from the character stuff, I thought was quite good. But there isn't enough character stuff in this film for me to let it overcome my overall feelings.
I don't know. I think I probably liked it more than you did.
You probably liked it more than me. I would like to stress, though, I liked it. I did like it.
Yeah.
Just maybe not as much as Kyle.
I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to. I was expecting really generic Marvel. I mean, it was, but it was good generic Marvel as opposed to average generic Marvel.
Well, let's talk about a show that I thought was above average.
Yes, let's move on then to the other big Marvel thing, which in no way ties into Black Widow whatsoever. It's really unfortunate timing.
We couldn't dovetail this any better, unfortunately.
If this came out during Falcon and Winter Soldier, it would have been great. Would have been really thematically appropriate, but it's not.
Thematically appropriate, it's not. It is a cosmic story of time travel and synthesizers.
And Owen Wilson. Wow.
You stole my bit. I was going to do that.
You can still do it. It's fine.
Nah. There's only room in this podcast for one Owen Wilson impersonator. So Loki. Same with Black Widow. Give me your overall, just your umbrella thoughts.
I was really enjoying it until the last episode, where
really enjoying it until you were.
Until I wasn't. I'm not saying the finale was terrible, but it was very dry and very dulled, at least in my opinion.
I love the final episode. We're doing this all arse over face, where we're going from the end back instead of the forward. It's the start forward.
I mean, we can work our way towards it, but that's my overall impression. I really enjoyed it until the last episode.
So I really enjoyed this show from the start. Maybe at the end of the first third I wasn't too enthused with. No, it was only 6 episodes. Episode 3's halfway. Didn't like the halfway point. And then I really liked it again. It was only 1 week that I was like, oh, this isn't good. But I really enjoyed the whole thing. I thought the entire thing was wonderful. I thought there was I liked the pace. It was quite slow. Maybe sometimes too slow. That's why I didn't like one episode. And I liked just all see, at one point in the trailers, or even the show, where Owen Wilson's talking about Loki and he's like, talkie, and he does the wee hand thing.
Yes.
That was the show. That was brilliant. I read someone say, I can't remember where I read it. I think it might have been on Twitter or a YouTube comment, that they really enjoyed the final episode, despite the fact that it didn't have a lot of action and it was just talking, but they really enjoyed it. And immediately I thought of the last episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 2. And I was like, that's why they do Star Trek Discovery Season 2 final episodes. Because people traditionally don't like people just chatting anymore. They want mind-numbing action.
I'm normally up for people just chatting. I don't know why it didn't work for me this time. And we'll get to it. We'll talk about the stuff I liked first. I mean, Tom Hiddleston, amazing. Great.
Wonderful. He can play this. He can play this role in his sleep.
I know. Contrasted with Owen Wilson, I think they're an absolutely fantastic pair. I honestly wish more of the show was just the two of them.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't a big fan of episode 3. Because just Owen Wilson wasn't in it at all.
They're a surprisingly good comedy duo in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, because seeing all this advertising for this show, for some reason I thought I wasn't going to like Owen Wilson. Here's the thing with me, I'm actually not traditionally a big Owen Wilson fan.
Me neither.
I like him in Night at the Museum.
Love him in Cars, obviously.
I love him in Cars, obviously. He's in a lot of stuff. Obviously, he's known for WoW.
Yes.
I remember him in a DFS advert for sofas a few years ago. And he's been in lots of comedies or other... Owen Wilson never leaves an impression in my mind, I think. I know his shtick, he doesn't do it for me. I thought he was fabulous in this show.
He's not really playing to his normal shtick in this, I don't think.
No, he isn't. This show... I mean, maybe he's done it before in projects that he's worked in that I haven't seen, but this show, to me, really helped me see Owen Wilson in a new light, where I was like, this guy... This guy is, like, amazing. This guy can really act. And there was this wonderful scene in the first episode, I think it was. Maybe it was the second episode, where they go to, like, a church in the 1800s.
Yeah, I think that's his opening scene with him, I think.
That's his opening scene, yeah. And, you know, the music... I thought the music in this show was also amazing as well, by the way. And the music was playing. It was a soft scene. He was speaking to this little girl, and he drew the little walking stick figure with a smile, and there was the blue bubble gum. Oh, wonderful, wonderful stuff. Just the way he was interacting, and he was speaking in the foreign language, and he was speaking soft as girl. I cannot put into words how much I liked Owen Wilson in this show. I thought it was fabulous.
It's really good, yes. And he never once, despite our jokes, says wow.
He does not. He doesn't do a single wow, and I'm glad. I'm so glad, because I think that would have taken me out of it. You know, when he's sitting in the canteen, he's like, that's not Asgard, that's my salad.
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful
I will
stuff.
say, him being good did make, for me, his primary kind of other character that he interacts with in this show is Judge Renslayer, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who has the best name in acting.
I didn't know that was her real name.
Yes, that's her real name. But she is just not as strong a character as he is. And whenever they're in scenes together, it's just, there isn't a lot of, they're supposed to have this lasting friendship, and I just never really felt it.
Oh, see, I bought it completely. Because she's like, you know, I think they probably came up together, probably. I know the show doesn't really go into it, but they've known each other a long time, you know, and we know she used to be a hunter because she was the one that originally arrested Sylvie. I was like, well, he used to be an analyst and he's become an investigator. She used to be a hunter and she's become a judge. And, like, they've probably been doing this a long time because they've been friends, for, you know, always for all time, as the TVA would say. They've came eons of friendship, she says in the last episode. And maybe, like, as now she's became, like, a sort of managerial position of power type character, she's got to have this, like, projection of power, I guess. So they have kind of drifted a little bit by the nature of her job. They still there's a friend in there somewhere, and they also disagree on things, and, you know, over the course of the show, why can't I remember the character name? Mobius! Why did I not know Mobius?
Mobius. That's his name.
No, Mobius, I know. Like, he's kind of becoming more and more kind of disenfranchised with TV as a factor of episodes go along. Not every single episode he's getting less interested in it, but as the show goes on, obviously he finds out that they're all variants. And I thought that their friendship and their kind of struggling friendship to the point where they really do have a fight at the end. I thought it was brilliant. I completely bought the relationship.
I don't know. I never particularly clicked with me. I don't know.
She never pruned him at the end, and she knocked him on his ass. But they had a drink together, and, like, he leaves stains on the oak wood panelled table that she's got, and she's like, use the drink mat. You know.
I just found her specifically to be, like, the weakest character in the show, and I don't think I felt like she wasn't really, I never really understood what her deal was as a character.
She was the judge.
Yeah, It's whereas, random B-15 has a proper character arc going on. She's going all over the place. She starts off as a villain, kind of bully, and then she has this whole redemption arc.
She was shown the light. She was shown the truth of everything, and she understands that it's wrong. Renslayer thinks the TVA are necessary, even if she might not fully like her origins. And she's like, well, it happened for a reason. There's a reason that they're keeping us here. Like, she's the indoctrinated person. She's the one that can't see the light. And she's also the thing that was left in the wind that will take us into season 2.
I do love the aesthetics of the TVA, I will say.
That's a real hotel you can go to, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a real place. I think the canteen and like the control room, that's all like a set piece, but see like the elevators and the big, not the statues, but like the lobbies and stuff, they're all real. Like, there's big shots of them. Like, see when they're standing in the library and there's, like, bits you can look over and you see the lifts going up and down behind the statues? That's all real.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a real place in America. It's a real hotel. I would love to stay there. Obviously, it's not going to be the same because of the set dressing a lot. But, wonderful. I love the 70s style of the whole thing.
Yes. But
they've got the temp pads and everything about the show. I'm actually going to say, I think the thing I thought in this show was maybe the weakest was Lady Loki.
Sylvie?
Yeah.
I mean, Sylvie is...
Weakest but not bad. I don't want to say she was bad. She wasn't bad.
She's make or break for the show because she does end up basically becoming the main character, or one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, from the second that I knew it was going to be Lady Loki, I was like, right, okay, well, she's going to end up being sympathetic. I was like, they're not going to vilify her. And I guess like she did kill, spoilers, Kang in the end. You know what? I thought it played out for the best, in my opinion. Like, they have the kiss at the end, but she's kind of doing it just to lull him to get the weird tempad wristband that Kang that gave to them, just so that she can send him back to the TVA. Perfect. And Tom Hiddleston sells every single scene that he's in, and
he has a national treasure, that Tom Hiddleston.
Everyone in the film, I think, They understood the assignment, as people on Twitter say.
I honestly think, for me, the first episode was my favourite, looking back. I know a lot of people love episode 5, and we'll get to episode 5, but just the whole introductory sequence of the TVA and Loki trying to escape and finding a drawer full of Infinity Stones, I loved all of that stuff.
That was great. I liked it as well. I think when I watched the first episode, I wasn't sure what to think about the drawer full of Infinity Stones, because I was like, this is supposed to be the most powerful thing in the universe, all the Infinity Stones together, and they just use them as paperweights. And I know that the point was to say, like, well, we're outside the universe, but sometimes I think later in the show they say, oh, we're just at the end of time, but I guess this time exists outside the universe. And that can come up to, I think, personal preference, because there were, Miss Minute shows up at the end and is like, you want to win the battle in New York, you want to kill Thanos, you want the gauntlet. And I actually thought they were trying to appeal to him, right? But like, they were trying to goat him as well, because what if they give him the Infinity Gauntlet? Can he handle the power of the gauntlet? Because that's something that Hulk and Iron Man could barely hold on to, And I was like, that'd probably kill him. I thought, like, they're just trying to get him to do something that'll kill him anyway, so he won't be a problem anymore.
That scene was weird. I felt a little bit unnecessary. It's the temptation bit, because obviously, they're not going to take the offer. That the second Miss Minutes opens her mouth, I just felt like it was kind of a waste of time.
Well, I think in that part they were going to show us not flashbacks, but they were going to actually show us visuals of what those alternate realities would look like. Because in the trailer, there's the shot of King Loki of Asgard, and it's not in the show. It's not in the show. There's a shot of him getting up from the throne on Asgard, and he's full Loki of Asgard attire from Avengers, but instead it's like modified, so it's more kingly. And he's standing up, he's got his hands out, he's T-posing almost, and it's just not in the show. So I think maybe that was when they were going to interject with, like, here's what it could be like if you win, and they show you, like, they show you it.
That would have made that scene a little bit more interesting.
I think maybe they cut it for time.
Maybe. Sylvie. I mean, I get... I did like her, and I think she does have good chemistry with main Loki. I think the relationship does work in a weird, is this incest kind of way.
Yeah, I never got the attraction.
I felt it. I think it worked. I mean, Tom Hiddleston can sell anything, so... Well,
again, make or break on Sylvie if you like her or not, and I think some of that attraction supposedly started in episode 3, which the episode I didn't like. I thought there was just a lot of... The entire episode was them on a train to somewhere.
It's an episode of Doctor Who is what it is.
It's an episode of Doctor Who, yeah. As an episode of Doctor Who, it might be very good. As an episode of Loki, I didn't like it.
I never made that connection until I think it was Mr. Sunday Movies who pointed it out.
Mr. Sunday Movies pointed it out, yeah.
And now I just can't unsee it. The whole, like, the train and all the aliens are just humans, and there's, like, this weird class thing. It's full Doctor Who. They really went all in on it.
Yeah, they really went all in on it. which I mean, I'm fine with. You know, probably one of the better episodes of Doctor Who we've had the past couple of years. As an episode of Loki, I thought it was just not right. And again, I know the show is slow, and I like the show's pace actually, but I thought that was too much.
An episode of them together, just bonding. Otherwise, the show doesn't work, right? So I see why it's in there.
I think you didn't need a full episode of it.
I think I hate to be nitpicky about time travel, but I do have nitpicks about the time travel in this film and how we keep saying film. This show, the 6-episode miniseries.
The 6-hour film.
I think that the rules of the TVA are a little bit inconsistent in a way that I don't think benefits. This really breaks down in episode 5, where you have all the different variants of Loki. Like, really? That seems more like a multiverse deal than it does a time travel variant deal to me. Like, that you have Alligator Loki and you have Old Man Loki and stuff. It seems like they wanted to do a multiverse without fully committing to it.
Well, the way I might have interpreted it was it's the single sacred timeline. It almost seems like, like the multiverse exists, but the multiverse is set on a linear path. They're all in one, symmetrical path. They're all going in one direction, and they never the twain shall meet. You know, but then when they start to branch, there's a risk that each new branching timeline will crash into another one of the multiverses. Well,
they say on the TV they have like a limit, right? Like the red lines that they get close to, and that's when it's gone too far.
One thing I'll say, see, you know where they like touch hands and then it starts to branch, even though they're in an apocalypse situation.
Yes,
I didn't understand that.
Doesn't make any sense.
They were still. No, and they were really quick to speedy go by it. That is the one speedily. They go by it really quickly.
Yes, it's apparently two versions of the same person kissing is a Nexus event somehow. I don't really understand it either.
But they're about to die.
Yes.
So how can it branch off? It's the whole point is you're scared of the consequences. What's the consequences?
It breaks the rules that they established in the previous episodes.
Yeah, what is the consequences of them kissing if they're about to die in 2 seconds? It's not like, the consequences of them kissing is they'll fall in love and they'll have some sort of antichrist child. That will be the consequences, but they've got no time to do that because they're about to die.
Yes.
The show does really speed by it, but that's my one criticism of my least favourite episodes. It all kind of fits in. Like, they got through that. 5 out of 6 ain't bad.
Like, for all the different variants of Loki, like Loki, when he broke the timeline and he escapes the Avengers, they caught him instantly. But Old Man Loki can sit on a planet for 70 years, or maybe much, much longer than that.
Well, I guess when he floated off and he hid on an isolated planet himself, he wasn't branching anything because he wasn't disturbing events.
Interact with the plants and shit on that planet.
See, I thought that I did think of that too. That did occur to me, and I can only assume that, it's like going back in time to the dinosaurs and killing a mosquito and you could affect evolution. Maybe that's just even the sacred timeline knows that's being a bit too pedantic.
I guess. I mean, the more blatant one to me is Sylvie, because they say in the film that Sylvie was born as a girl, and it's like, isn't that the Nexus event? Isn't that what's causing the issue?
Well, if you can have a black Loki or a crocodile Loki, presumably you can have a female Loki.
Well, yeah, that's when it all breaks as well, right? But I just, like, what was her Nexus event then, if it wasn't being a girl?
Well, Renslayer said she didn't remember. I thought it was she was playing with that boat and she wasn't supposed to. That was how I read it.
That she was playing with a boat? Because to me, that scene makes perfect sense if the reason for the Nexus event is that Loki just decided, I'm going to transform into a girl, and that was the Nexus event. But I guess they didn't want to get too transy with it. Because if the scene is Loki decides, I want to be a girl, turns into a girl, that's the next event, you're not supposed to do that, then the scene works fine, and it does give some more malicious motivation, I think. Or it gives some more drama to Sylvie's whole, revenge arc.
Maybe they didn't want to accuse the TVA of being transphobic when they were going to turn into heroes eventually.
Yes, that's the thing. I think they just wanted to avoid making things too trans in a way that I don't think benefits
even though
the show.
they make Loki bi.
They make Loki gender fluid if you see his case file in the opening.
Yeah.
But, it's like...
I think that was just supposed to be a fun reference to how he can shapeshift.
Yeah, I know, it is.
Went too far with it.
But I felt, to me, as a boring cis guy, there was a definite, we don't want to invite any trans comparisons here. Sylvie was always a girl, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Potentially. That was Judith from The Walking Dead who played the child lady Sylvie.
It was also young Rey from Star Wars.
Was it?
Yes. At least that's what the internet told me.
All right, okay. Well, I know it's Judith Grimes from The Walking Dead. Let's talk about, we had a fun cameo on this show. We had Lady Sif.
For last seen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Last seen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was, when I first saw her, I was like, oh my god, Kyle is going to bring up that she was last seen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, she was. It was fun to see her. I can't remember her name.
The actor.
Something Alexander, I think.
Jamie Alexander?
I was going to say Danny Alexander, but I think that's a former Scottish Liberal Democrat politician.
It would be fun to see him and Loki as well.
No, yeah, so it was nice to see her again. There's been a big hubbub about, like, I think this is more, I think, back to before Disney Plus was a thing. It was like, if you're in the films and you get demoted to the TV shows, you ain't ever showing up in the films again. Now, Clark Gregg was obviously able to jump back to the movies, and so was Sam Jackson, but I guess you could say Sam Jackson's too big, and Clark Gregg, he was too big, he was the main character. Lady Sif was not in Thor Ragnarok after going to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You know, because I think they wanted to try and build a TV universe with, like, Inhumans crossing over with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
Lol. That always never happened. But it was nice to see her back on Disney Plus, which is a step closer to showing up back in the films. Now, there's no word if she's going to be in Thor Love and Thunder.
I thought there was word that she was going to be in it.
I think there was rumoured. I think she said she hadn't been asked.
I thought Kat Dennings said she hadn't been asked.
Kat Dennings said she hadn't been asked, yeah. I thought she also had said that she isn't in it.
I thought I'd heard that Sif was going to show up in it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it will be lovely. I don't think so. It was nice to see her, though, even though it was, like, clearly a day's work.
Yes.
It was a shame it wasn't really her, though. It was a memory simulation.
Yeah.
So when we next see her, she's not going to have any memory of this.
Well, I mean, that is an event that actually happened, but...
Yes, but not of it repeating forever and ever and ever.
It was a very... Like, really, that's the worst memory you could think of to put him in a time loop of, not being beaten up by the Hulk. I feel like that would be more of a punishment. It's just the scene of him being smashed by the Hulk constantly.
Having a lady kick him in the nuts repeatedly is, feminist statement.
I guess so.
So... It works, it's fine, it's whatever. It was nice to see Lady Sif again, bit of fan service, and we moved on. That was a really strong Mobius episode, I thought. I can't quite express how much I love every single thing that Mobius ever did in the show. Mobius was fantastic, 10 out of 10 in every scene. Now, I feel like we're going to flounder a little bit. Let's get to the Multiverse of Loki episode, please.
Sure, the Void. I mean, as a post-credit scene, flawless, where he looks up and there's a bunch of Lokis, you're like, shit just got weird.
Yeah, like, come with us if you want to live.
Yes, and there's an alligator Loki, and there's a kid Loki, and there's
boastful Loki.
And
there's classic Loki.
Richard E. Grant just hamming it up. It's great.
He sold every scene of it. This is tying with The Rise of Skywalker. He was in a crap film.
Yeah.
But he put out a great performance. But they gave him nothing to work with. This was a show where he gave a great performance, where he also had things to work with.
Yes.
And he clearly hammed up every single scene he was in. He used the magician magic to his full potential.
Every time he used it, he did a proper, flare of magic energy.
Yeah, and he was whipping the cape, and clearly his whole body was invested in it. Like, it wasn't just mouth and voice acting, it was body acting. It was arm acting. He gave it his all. He had the big crazy horns summoning up Asgard,
Glorious purpose.
That was a great final line. Fantastic. It would have been great if Mobius showed up in that episode. He was driving a red race car.
I know. They went for the Pixar Pizza Planet truck.
It wasn't the Pizza Planet truck. I wish it was the Pizza Planet truck. It was as close as they could get to the Pizza Planet truck.
It would have been so much more fun if it was a red Corvette. I mean, come on. It was right there for you.
It's all in-house. It's all Disney.
Exactly.
Oh, that could have gotten so many memes. So many memes.
I mean, they don't even explain where he got the car. He just shows up in a car.
It's a destroyed New York.
I guess so.
So, what did we think of President Loki and his band of marauding backup Lokis that I never even knew were other Lokis?
I thought it was a little bit of... I mean, I do really enjoy that scene where they're having the big Loki brawl, and actual Loki's just standing there, just shaking his head. It's like, why are we doing this? But
do you ever think it was a bit weird that he never put on his Loki outfit? He just always wore the
I did
TVA
think that was
shirt
weird.
and tie.
I wanted him to put on an actual Loki outfit at some point, but I guess...
Yeah, it fit the aesthetic of, the show. It looked good. I was just but surely Loki would want to put his Loki stuff
surely at some point you take off that tie. You can't be running around doing all this action stuff wearing a tie. I mean... Come on.
It looked great.
Yeah, I mean, I like that scene. I do think President Loki at the end, especially given how much play it got in the trailers, did end up as a bit of a letdown, where it's a single scene.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that episode was going to do more. I thought it was a wonderful episode, but I still expected more from it. I really thought that President Loki was going to play out a little bit more than just be a a fun
I
trailer.
expected President Loki to be like, Loki's been in the void for months and he's started a campaign to take over or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess when you got to think of these things whenever you're making a show, you always shoot the trailer shots first, and they must have just thought that'll be a fun trailer shot. Because I think it's quite a cynical way to look at things. It's a realistic way as well. A lot of things in movies and TV, you always think, well, there's your trailer shot, and it can make no sense, or it can be a waste.
It's the shot.
But you always film it first.
It's
the shot for the trailer.
The Black Widow shot of skating down the debris in the sky. That's your trailer shot right there.
That's your trailer shot. It's Rey jumping over the TIE Whisperer from The Rise of Skywalker. That's your trailer shot. You know, you've always got to have your trailer shots. And I sadly think that this President Loki was reduced to no more than a trailer shot, where I would have liked more.
I did find it weird that that was the only other Tom Hiddleston Loki. Like, he is the prime Loki. You'd think more of them would be Tom Hiddleston, right?
I got the implication that the Richard E. Grant Loki was supposed to have been Tom Hiddleston Loki, just much older.
Yeah, I think that's the impression. They never really explain why he has a comic book accurate outfit. It's just a weird detail.
It's classic Loki. The Thanos copter, Kyle. The Thanos copter.
Thanos copter, yeah.
Where at the end of that comic book, he's arrested by regular New York police officers with handcuffs in a police car. Could you imagine Josh Brolin Thanos doing that?
Oh, it'd be amazing.
It'd be fantastic.
Again, it's a fun Easter egg, but it's also one of these things where it breaks the rules. Like, how did we get to a timeline point where Thanos is flying around in a helicopter and that didn't break the timeline until that point? I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The existence... Maybe the helicopter had never been flown before.
It's just sitting somewhere in Thanos' ship. He has the Thanos copter.
Yeah, and maybe like the TVA breaking event was that he got in it. Like, it's something he was allowed to build, but the second that he actually stepped foot in it and turned on the engine, it was like, nope.
See, now I'm imagining Josh Brolin Thanos going through all the TVA stuff at the start of the first episode, and that's extremely funny.
Getting stripped naked and walking through the android scanner. Having a jump.
I know it isn't, but I wish that the scanner thing was a reference to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know it's not. I know it's just a coincidence, but I wish it was an Easter egg to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think they were looking for LMDs.
They were looking for Chromicons, yeah.
Oh, I was thinking more life model decoys. They were looking for fake Agent Coulson.
No, the Chromicons are literally time-travelling robots.
Ah, so they are. The bald man.
Yes.
Great guy. We like the Chromicon. But yeah, so what do we think of Kang then?
It's a weird-ass performance. That's my first impression of it. I don't know what he's doing there. It's super strange and not in a good way.
Yep, sorry, I was going to say you're not wrong. I actually think, sorry, I was completely checked out when you were saying that. I apologise. You think it's not in a good way?
No, I found it super distracting and not in an engaging way, just in a what is this guy doing way.
I thought it was amazing. Subverting your expectations, Kel, that's what you're about. It was Wizard of Oz, and I think this is a version of Kang that's in the comics, because there's one where he almost looks like an Asian man. He's got like the pencil mustache and the pencil beard, and it's the purple robes and the green suit under it. Like that there's a comic version of Kang that's a bit like that, and the attitude is completely different, but I think that vaguely speaking...
Okay, no, I mean, from a plot perspective, I don't mind the whole. It's a good version of Kang who's keeping all of these evil versions at bay by doing this, right? I think it's a fine plot element for season 2, but...
I actually don't think that this was all set up. You do?
I do. I think this entire episode was set up for season 2.
Because Sylvie had a plan from our introduction that she wanted to find out who was in charge of the TVA and kill them. That was the Timekeepers at first. We never even spoke about the Timekeepers. I thought they looked fantastic. They were like the prophets in Halo.
I thought as soon as they entered that room, I was like, this is obviously a Wizard of Oz situation. Look at these animatronic robot men. I
wish they were real. I thought they looked brilliant.
I thought they looked silly.
I thought they looked amazing. I thought just something about them felt so science fiction-y. I thought it oozed creativity in my mind. I thought, this is great. This is fantastic. This is amazing. And then they were fake. But again, that because I liked Kang so much, they survived that for me. Yeah. So no, I enjoyed. I thought that, Sylvie had an idea to find out who was in control of the TVA and kill them, and that was she started, and that's what she finished with. It's like Thanos, Thor not going for the head.
See, I like that Thanos part, and then she just kind of sits there, and because revenge never actually brings anyone comfort, and she just sits there like, what now? I've ruined the entire universe to kill this guy. Now what?
Well, again, she never believed him.
I think maybe she did it, and she just wanted to kill him
didn't
anyway.
Care.
Yeah,
I think she didn't, because she did sit down and listen to him as well. I know she had not much choice, but She still could have just
I read
not
that
cared
she
and
was
just
being
kept
driven
wailing
by,
at him.
like, pure emotion, basically. She just wants this guy dead for what's been done to her. And then she sits
Well,
down
she-
and cries because now what?
No, I didn't mean before the death. I meant like she sat down and listened to him when he was explaining everything.
Yes.
And if she really didn't care, she would have kept just wailing at him repeatedly, despite him keep reversing time every single time. She just wouldn't have cared, and she would have kept going.
No, she's not an idiot.
She what?
She's not an idiot. She knows that obviously he's gonna dodge what she's attacking. She's not gonna just keep trying anyway.
Yeah, well, I do think that she listened to him. I think because she heard everything he had to say.
Yes.
It's not like this is the fate. It's not like she was the master.
I don't think she.
the end of Peter
I think she
Capaldi's
was
era.
trying to convince herself that he was lying, so that it would be okay when she murdered him.
Trying to convince herself that she's lying could be just as good as, I guess. I suppose I could grant you that, but I still don't necessarily think that means anything more of it being set up. She set out to do something and she did it, and that was the season. Season 2 will be the consequences of what she did in season 1, but I don't believe that's still necessarily set up. Like,
I mean, all of the stuff with Renslayer in this episode was set up for season 2.
yeah, that's set up. That the Renslayer stuff, I think, very specifically set up. There's consequences, but I guess if she went away and then they never killed Kang, her going away doesn't mean much because everything's still in order. Mm-hmm. And I would say that this is supposed to be like serialized storytelling, like Star Trek Discovery. It is going to continue the events of the show, and I think it's going to be quite direct continuation. I don't necessarily think that means that this was all set up, because you could see that everything from episode 1 was all set up, because it's all building to this thing that is not yet concluded.
Here's the thing. I think my opinion of this episode may have been downgraded slightly because I watched this show with my folks on the couch, and they were not happy with this episode. They were very disappointed. And I get it, because I know who Kang is. I understand Kang because I watch internet theory videos. My parents do not give a crap about Kang. And they don't care about multiverse stuff. And I can see why this episode, which has been quite divisive, more than a Marvel thing has been in a while, I think. And I understand why.
Yeah, fair. Mephisto.
I mean, I get why it was Agatha all along, because Agatha was a character in the show before that, right? So
yeah, I guess you weren't predicting it to be Agatha if you hadn't watched internet theory videos, you know? Like, this is just, if you didn't know Kang was coming, this is just some dude.
Some weirdo in a castle, yeah.
Some weirdo in a castle. But, somebody's always got to be in charge of something, and every character ever made's got their introduction. Things grow. And yes, we knew it was Kang, and our joy comes from, oh my god, it's Kang. But, things have got to develop somehow, and this is just the introduction, and I thought that final line, he said, "See you soon." Ah, perfect. Almost chill-inducing. Not quite, but almost. We know we're going to see a different version in Quantumania. We know we're going to see him again.
I'm really hoping that prime, proper Kang the Conqueror is not a weirdo dancing around his table.
I don't think he will be. I think he's going to be like an authoritarian, broad shoulder type man. Like with a deep voice, like a really imposing Josh Brolin Thanos type voice.
Or is that too close to Thanos?
Apparently that blue face is just a mask.
Is it? Okay.
I'm not sure. I think it's just a mask. Yeah, because he's also like Iron Lad in the Young Avengers, because obviously he's a different variant of time travelers. He's the scientist version from the 31st century. They mention is a descendant of Reed Richards. Nathaniel Richards is called.
Do they?
Yeah. So, and that would imply that we're going to race bend the Fantastic Four, which I can't wait for headlines about that. But again, multiverse, maybe this one isn't a descendant, because they never actually say his name in this, but if they're referring to the comic one, then it is a descendant.
I mean, they already did that trick in the last Fantastic Four film. They cast Jamie Foxx.
Oh yeah, Johnny Storm.
Not Jamie Foxx, no,
but
what's his name?
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, Killmonger.
Of Black Panther's name. Yeah, soon to be in What If. Anyway, I think that the next Kang we see, because we saw a statue of him in a more comic books accurate look, he will be more kind of, because he did say that they're all going to be warmongers that all fought, and he was a good one. Mm-hmm. He's good, and that's why he's semi-friendly and semi-charming. I don't think the next one's going to be zippity-booping and standing up on tables and eating apples. Well, they might eat apples, I suppose. But, not be so charismatic and TV-friendly. I think this guy is going to be a proper villain, but I think he's also going to be in for the long haul. I think we're going to be seeing Kang for a long time to come in the MCU. I don't think he's good.
They've set up their new Thanos, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily know if he's going to be the next Thanos, but in terms of his scale, but I think he is going to be a new MCU character that is going to be recurring. Sometimes he might even be a protagonist, and then you see him in an alternate timeline as a villain, so you never really know what to expect of him.
I do worry that all of this, as you're describing it, is gonna... I think they're at risk of alienating casual fans with this stuff.
So that's what I said to you when I read, because you and another friend of ours was speaking about it last night when you had both seen it. I was sleeping at that moment, so I woke up and I read back through the chat. I have also read online that some people who watched that final episode just didn't have a clue what was going on. And I've actually, that's the thing. If we spoke about things I've read online about Black Widow.
I was next to two people who didn't have a clue what was going on, and I understood why.
There you go. Like I think I've said this before about Endgame, and Marvel have kind of hurt themselves by trying to reinvent time travel, because everyone gets time travel now. Time travel's old. Time travel's boring. Time travel was so cool 10 years ago. I know it's much older than that, right? But the concept anyway. But in pop culture, 10 years ago it was really interesting. Now people are bored of it, and Marvel felt they need to try and reinvent it with going through the quantum realm into parallel realities, and Endgame is now a slight plot hole mess because of it. Now they have went, because time travel's boring, they're now skipping to parallel universes. Now again, that's the thing other science fiction has done before, but it's still quite niche. It's not mainstream.
As their current lineup goes, they're going all in on multiple universes. They've got What If, they've got the new Spider-Man movie, it was probably Doctor Strange. They're going all in.
Did you see the toy leak that came out for Spider-Man?
The What If one? That's like a Doctor Strange
No.
Spider-Man?
It was a Hot Toys Spider-Man for Spider-Man 3.
I thought it was for What If.
This is for Spider-Man 3, and he's got like the black and gold suit with the Doctor Strange pieces on it, and he can shoot temporal spider webs.
That's bizarre. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be the Spider-Man 3 is a multiverse film. As we knew, Alfred Molina was in it as Doc Ock, so. Regardless, I think that the multiverse is a concept. I know again, it's like Doctor Who done parallel universe with the Cybermen 10 years ago, and the mirror universe in Star Trek's existed since the 60s. I know it's not a brand new concept, but it's not mainstream, and Marvel are trying to make it mainstream. And I agree with you that they do risk alienating the casual folk. Me and you, I think, will pretty much always understand it because we're nerds. But they're never. I don't think they're going to get a $3.4 billion movie on multiverses anytime soon. Maybe eventually when everyone understands it. But right now, I do think they run the risk of alienating casual people. I haven't spoke to a lot of friends about the final episode yet, 'cause it only came out
yesterday.
Yeah, but I do wonder how many people who I know who are Marvel fans will not have had a clue what just happened.
I mean, I thought they did.
I actually followed it.
I think they did an okay explanation where he's got the little hologram and he's talking about all the different versions talking and fighting. Like, I understood it, but again, I'm a nerd and I can follow stuff like that. And I've watched Star Trek, so I understand. But I can see why a casual viewer is just like, but why isn't it just fun Loki antics? Why are we doing all this weird stuff?
Why are we universe building? I mean, the comics have done...
Of course.
I think there was a line that's called...
Comics have done literally everything, so...
The comics done literally everything, but I think the comics done a comic line called Avengers Forever at one point, and I believe that was a multiverse Avengers story. Where it was just like multiple different versions of the Avengers from multiple different versions of realities fighting bad people from multiple different realities.
It's kind of how the comics have always done it to keep everything canon, is they just like, whenever they do a new version of a story, it's just like, this is Earth 7642 or whatever. What I was
going to say is they ended up kind of fucking up so badly with that they had to have like a endgame level event where it kind of reset everything into one single universe again, because it just became too crazy for anyone to keep meaningful track of anymore. And I worry that it's possible Marvel might end up doing that to their live action stuff, because the multiverse in the comics came out of trying to keep the stakes bigger and bigger and bigger until it collapsed in on itself, and they had to reset everything into a new canon almost. And I'm wondering if Marvel's going to end up doing that because they just lose it. Like Kevin Feige loses his mind, or he's tragically has to step down from the position that he's in, and someone else comes in to try and take over the reins. It's such a crucial moment in the MCU, and they don't know how to handle it, and it all falls apart.
I mean, like after Endgame, the goal that they were setting and they were so far going fine with is keep things small scale again. Like WandaVision, it's just set in a town. Falcon Winter Soldier, it's a very, very low level villain. Spider-Man, Far From Home, low level villain, right? Far From Home.
Mysterio.
And then this show, it's multiverse chaos. They've gone full gigantic scale again, and I think it may be too soon. That's my worry.
Possible, but again, they're keeping this all like the Loki thing. Now, I think, I don't know if I said this to you yet, they done something amazing in Loki right at the end where they killed Kang. They have now somehow still made the TV shows not essential viewing.
Yes, and I point...
Because the Kang...
I said this
the Kang...
because the movies never established that there wasn't a multiverse.
Yeah, and like this ancient one talks about multiverses and infinity stones and stuff in Endgame, and picking stones out and a different reality can branch out of it. Like she does a whole timeline thing with visual metaphors with her magic powers, and like we already know Kang is going to be in Quantumania, Ant-Man 3 and the Wasp, but that Kang is not going to have any knowledge about what happened in Loki, so it's not like we're bringing over character development. It's just the same actor with the same name, basically starting anew.
How do you feel about the implication that everything that's happened in the MCU so far was predestined and there's no free will?
Yeah, but again, if you don't watch Loki, you ain't gonna know that.
I know, but I mean, if you want to get meta about it, we all know that as people because their characters being written, right? They never had any agency.
Yeah.
But there's just something about it where it's just like, this is getting really messy, guys. I mean, come on.
The first time that the multiverse is going to be introduced in the films in practice is going to be Spider-Man 3. Because Loki is canon, very much canon, doesn't count. Because it's not essential viewing, sadly. Highly recommended though it may be, I would recommend it. It's not essential. So Spider-Man 3 is going to be your big multiverse breakout, and Doctor Strange is going to be pulling his hair out. And the Hollywood Reporter recently said that it's expected that Loki's going to show up in Doctor Strange.
I saw that too. I don't know how much I believe it.
Well, the Hollywood Reporter don't just really say it. Obviously, not everyone has to be correct 100% of the time, but the Hollywood Reporter is a very, very reliable, high-regarded source. They don't really just say
But will it be
things
this Loki? I mean, who knows?
Well, that's the thing. Will it be this Loki? That is a question that remains to be seen. But given that everyone's talking about Spider-Man being a multiverse film, everyone's also expecting, because it's Spider-Man 3, by the end of the film it's all going to then be resolved, but the very next Marvel film is called The Multiverse of Madness, so something tells me it's not yet going to be resolved unless they resolve it at the end of Spider-Man, and then something happens in Doctor Strange that opens up the issue again. Quantumania, Ant-Man 3, that deals with the quantum realm, which is how they time travel, so I think that might be a time travel movie that will end up multiversing somehow.
Yeah.
So, oh god, the multiverse is here in a big way, and the TV show was sort of not filler, but it was, the TV shows are where you go to do your extra reading. It is the Silmarillion of the Lord of the Rings. It's where you go to expand your knowledge of the mainline story.
I just hope I'll keep my fingers crossed that one day Agent Coulson will show up and he'll be a robot and it'll be a great time.
I can't wait for the Agent Coulson standalone movie.